Hello, everyone. Today, I decided to spin up a fresh Windows 11 instance, and we'll kind of start with just Windows 11 and Google Chrome installed. I do technically have a VNC server because I'm actually VNC'd into the machine with this Windows on, but in general, it's a clean install of Windows with no real dev tools and other stuff in there. So the first thing I want to do today is really just install some development tools. I do tend to use Google Chrome when I'm working with like web development stuff. So I kind of installed that in the first place, but I'm just going to presume you've got a browser. But if not, you can get that with like going to google.com/Chrome. So now let's think about what else I might want. One of the things I'm probably going to want is some way of working with Git repositories like GitHub. Right? So there's a local way we can do this, a couple of different ways. If you're on Windows, usually just using Git bash will work. So you can get that from a few different places. If we look at this git.scm.com downloads, this would be the way how you'd normally get it for Windows. So we've got this latest source release, download for Windows. So let's go there. There'll be a link in this for this in the description in the video as well. So now we want to click here to download the latest version. So we'll click to download the latest version. It starts the download. Here it is. For mine, it's going to be about a minute or so. That's fine. Okay, that's finished downloading. So here I can click this little icon here to show in the folder. And then what I can do is double click on this installer. We'll wait for a few seconds for it to kind of go to this screen. Say yes. And here we're presented with the license. If you like, you can have a read of that. Personally, I tend to just scroll to the bottom because there's usually, if you don't agree to this, you can't install it anyway. So if you're really, really interested, feel free to read it, but I'm just going to click next at this point. This is telling me, okay, well, where do you want to install it? For my purpose, I'm going to leave it default at C program files Git and click next. Now, there's a few things here that you might want to look at. So at the moment, we have Windows Explorer integration where it has an open Git bash here, open Git GUI here, Git large file support, associate .git configuration files with default text editor, associate sh files when to be run with bash, and so on. So we've got a few things that are just here already. What you might want to do is add a Git bash profile to the Windows terminal. And there's additional icons that you could add to the desktop if you feel like it. I'm not going to bother, but you can if you want. Then we click next. Now it's going to set up the start menu folder. For now, I'm going to leave it as it is with this Git. So next. Here's where you choose the default editor by Git. Now, at the moment, it's set to Vim, which is built in. We've got Visual Studio Code and a lot of other things. It depends what you've got installed. I'm going to leave it as the default for the moment and click next. Now, when it makes a new branch, Git uses default currently master branch, but realistically, we want the new repositories to have a main branch to deal with the current trends on GitHub. So let's go on override default branch now and click next. This one's, if you want to use it from only using it in Git bash, you can select this. If you want to use Git from the command line as well as some third-party tools, use this. If you want to use Git and other tools like find and sort and everything else, then use this. I tend to use this to kind of give it all of the possible tools available. You can, again, they say this is recommended because this allows certain Windows tools to still use in there. But I like to override them with the open source versions. It's entirely up to you which one of these you choose. And then next. I'll just use the OpenSSL library for now. So I leave this as is and click next. How should we actually treat line endings? Now, this is a bit of a dependency of how you want to be seeing things, but I find checkout window style and commit Unix style works best for Windows. So I'm going to click next. Then we're configuring the actual terminal emulator. We have two different ways of doing this. Git Bash, it usually uses min-tty as its terminal emulator. It allows for like resizable windows, selection of different stuff. It's quite a nice sort of setup. If we choose the default console, it'll use CMD, which will work, but it doesn't quite display some of the things correctly if you have certain bash things. So I tend to leave it in the mini-tty. So I'm going to click next. Let's have a look. What should we do when we do a git pull by default? So you could do a fast forward, which basically it fetches the branch when it can, otherwise it creates a merge commit. Rebase the current branch onto the fetch branch, and if there are no local commits to rebase, it's equivalent to a fast forward, and only ever fast forward. Now, I like to tend to do the rebase, but that's my preference. You can choose any of these that you want. I'd say rebase or fast forward or merge is probably your best bets. If you don't really want to mess with it, you can leave that as is. I'm just going to change it to rebase for myself now. And next. Now, what sort of credential manager? Ideally, I want to use the Git credential manager because it's a cross-platform manager and it simplifies my work when I'm actually doing any credential stuff and connecting to Git. So leave that as is and next. Now, we can enable file system caching, which is perfect because it allows a bit faster memory stuff, and it can read a bunch of bulk stuff a lot quicker when it needs to, so a nice sort of performance boost. You can enable symbolic linking if you like. I'm going to leave it off myself for the moment, but just if you want to look into it, you can have a quick look at what that does, but I wouldn't really bother with it for now. So we click next. Now, there's a few active development bits that can actually break things sometimes, so you've got to be a bit careful. This is a nice little feature that allows pseudo consoles, but for now we're going to leave it off because it can make instabilities in the system. Same sort of thing with this built-in file system monitor. So we're going to leave these two as is for now, purely because they can cause instabilities. That may change in the future and they may be sort of like brought into the actual main product. So now I'm going to click on install and it'll start doing the installation and copying over the files. So when it finishes, it just closes off. And we literally have this, the Git setup wizard that appears. So when it's finished, you can either view the release notes if you feel like it. I'm not going to do that. Or you can launch Git Bash. I'm going to actually have it launch Git Bash just to show you running. So I'll click finish. And this is what Git Bash looks like. It shows kind of a Unix looking type prompt. Tells you where you are. At the moment, we're in tilde, which is the home folder. And you can run different things like ls and to list directories, dwd to tell you what directory you're in, and so on and so forth. But this concludes installing Git Bash or Git for Windows. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. If you really want to, you can start setting it up now. I'll make another video for that if you like. Have a great day.